Woodberry Forest School, founded in 1889 by Captain Robert Stringfellow Walker, is recognized today as one of the foremost preparatory schools for boys in the South.
Martin Luther King.
We have left it up to you to let it can be handled.
Could you lower those signs, please? I have some very sad news for all of you, and that is that Martin Luther King was shot and was killed tonight in Memphis.
I still have a dream.
Yes.
It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream.
My name is Jack Tankersley. I'm the Woodberry class of 1968, and my wife Jennifer and I live in Denver, Colorado. It was interesting. You have to go back in time to understand 1968. In April of 1968, Martin Luther King was assassinated. There had been, in 1964, our first year at Woodberry, the Civil Rights Act had been passed. And those of us who were interested in reading the newspapers, interested in reading the Washington Post, which was the newspaper we got at school, understood that there was a change happening in the country. But I can remember we were charged with a senior class gift, thinking to myself, what could we possibly do? Because all the great gifts, like the flagpole in front of the Walker Building, given by the class of 1925, the senior bench, gosh, there was nothing like that. And so I find it remarkable today that 50 years ago, a bunch of 18-year-old boys were able to conceive and execute what I believe was a transformative gift to Woodberry Forest School. That gift, as presented by Ed Lucas, a classmate at our Amasai night, was a sum of money. And that sum of money was to be held until such time as the admissions policy of Woodberry Forest School was without racial prejudice. That was something that we today don't know whose idea it was. We've asked and we've talked, and I think it's actually some comfort that it was an idea that sprung from the hearts of a whole lot of boys, and we got together. I think the interesting thing about it is that that gift, when it was announced, was met by overwhelming silence. It was a brave gift. It was a daring gift, and one that, frankly, I think the school forgot after it published. And because the school forgot about it, at our 45th reunion, we presented a plaque to the school honoring that gift, because we did not want that gift to be forgotten.
Sure. Ronald Long, I graduated in 1973, and I was born and raised in Washington, D.C. Currently live in St. Louis, Missouri. I was found initially by the Ann Stouffer Foundation. She was a Reynolds Tobacco heiress who wanted to integrate Southern boarding schools. And at some point, somebody told her that Washington, D.C. was in the South, so they came up recruiting in D.C. And one of my junior high school counselors put my name forward to them, everything from there seemed to go smoothly. So yes, during the first year, each of the 3 African American students were given a single room. No one made it clear to us what it was, but we have to believe there was a concern that it would be difficult to have a white student room with a black student in that first year. And it was a rule that they had for only that first year. After that, they assigned roommates as they do normally. But I guess there was a big concern in this first year of integration, let's not push the envelope. It's a decision that was made above my pay grade. You can debate the decision, and it worked out fine. But it is something that was a difference that the African American students had that other students didn't have. Of course, the other difference we had is that if you tried to skip chapel, they only had to count 3 heads to make sure the black students were there. I thought that was totally unfair. I would say from day one, I felt very comfortable academically. That was a concern, given that the public thoughts and image would be the black kid coming to the white school would be behind in a number of things. But I was able to place out of 9th grade math into 10th grade math and held my own there. And academically, I did pretty well. Athletically, I wish I could have been better, but I tried hard. I think the only difference in the time you would feel out of place a little bit was around some of the social aspects when some of the boys would be off. Sometimes it was skiing or other adventures, which were all at a level that I couldn't afford. But even then, I didn't feel completely left out. The campus had plenty to do when the other students were off doing things that took more money than my family had to allow you to do. No, I think I felt welcome from day one. Obviously, in any setting that's new and different, there were a couple of guys who probably weren't happy that we were here. For all I know, there were probably a couple of faculty members that weren't pleased that the school had integrated, but at no point did there ever come for me. Now, everybody's experience is different, but at no point did I ever feel that there were students that didn't want me around or didn't want me to be part of the Woodberry team. I think at the end of the day, I think they looked more at the black and orange as opposed to the black and white.
Okay, my name again is Gary, G-A-R-Y, last name Mance, M-A-N-C-E. I graduated in 1974, and I'm actually from Orange, Virginia, which is right there at the school. I would say it's a combination. At the time when I found out about Woodberry, there was a lady who was the Orange County supervisor that went around to all the different schools in Orange County and really knew all of the teachers and the students in the Orange County area. And Woodberry was looking for African Americans to integrate the school at that particular point in time. So she went and checked on the different students that, from a grade point standpoint, grade point average standpoint, and I was one of the 2 students that she chose in Orange County to take the test to go to Woodberry. They also chose 2 students from Madison County and 2 students from Culpeper as well to take this test. And Woodberry was only going to have 2 students attend based on taking this particular test as to the top 2 students as far as scoring on the test. And I was one of the 2 students that scored the highest and was given the opportunity to attend Woodberry. Well, my first regret was really early on because I left the Orange County school system where I had been there for up through the 8th grade and knew quite a few people, had a lot of good friends, enjoyed going to school, and I was going to go somewhere where I knew no one, had to make new friends. Um, there were not going to be very many people that looked like me there. So there were a lot of regrets in that respect. And I came on campus early because um, they recruited me for the football team as well. So I came in early to practice with the football team before the rest of the students got there. So I got a chance to really get to know the campus a little more and get to really understand that I was going to be an individual that there were not going to be many other people that looked like me there. The people that looked like me were the people that were working there in the grounds and in the kitchens and areas like that. So it was a real awakening for me in that respect. But I felt as though I was going to be a person that was going to be able to handle that. And that was the key. When I felt like I could handle it and that I can handle any adversity that came my way, then the regret went away, and I said, well, in the long run, it's going to pay off. So that's how I looked at it. I really, early on, I definitely felt like an outsider. And I guess that the thing that helped me was that I wasn't the only African American that came in. There was 8 of us that came in at the same time, and we got to know each other. And that bonding helped us to really feel like part of the community. But also, there were quite a few other guys that were there that really were very welcoming, and we learned from them and they learned from us, and we enjoyed being around one another. And probably the biggest, I would say the biggest change for me was my advisor. My advisor was a teacher by the name of Chuck Straley, and he really helped me integrate into the school, who was always there to answer any questions I had, was always willing to work through not only my schoolwork, but help me to understand how to really integrate into the community there at Woodberry, and it made a huge difference with me. No, it was a huge difference by the time I graduated. I struggled a little bit over the first couple of years. Really hit my stride probably near the end of my sophomore year. And by my senior year, I was really felt like I was part of the community. Really felt good about the school. There were a lot more African Americans that were part of the school at this particular point in time. And I tell you, I had a lot of really close friends that I'm still close friends with at Woodberry by the time I graduated, and enjoy the atmosphere and the people there by the time I got to my senior year. And my senior year was the year that I actually moved from a day student to a boarding student. So I was actually on campus my entire senior year. And so that was another great step for me and really helped me integrate even more into the community.
Joshua Doom, class of 2019. I'm from New Jersey.
My name is Max Johns, class of 2018. I'm from High Point, North Carolina.
I'd definitely say my first year here made me regret having applied to Woodberry or being at Woodberry. I was a new boy sophomore. I didn't know many people at the school. I didn't have the best experiences on Walker. One night I was in the library, I was studying. I was doing group work, and a kid actually called me the N-word, and he said, I used to own you, right? And that just completely blew my mind, because coming from a place where I'm from New Jersey. I've never had an experience like that where I felt so out of place. I've been around so many people that didn't look like me.
I think for the first probably 2.5 years, I felt like an outsider. So, in a sense, I felt like there were things that happened that I wasn't a part of. Like I had no place to be a part of.
I definitely feel like an outsider, and there are times where I kind of forget that I don't feel like that when I'm hanging out with guys on dorm, but I don't know, there's just this feeling, this sense of like something that separates me and my peers, especially the ones that don't look like me, and maybe it's experiences or just maybe a different bond they share. Or maybe it's something I'm making up, but that's something that separates us that I truly feel. So.
I confronted it first musically. I had grown up to black artists like Marvin Gaye, Luther Vandross, and I don't know, like Mahalia Jackson. It was weird coming into an environment where like people loved country music. They loved it was just kind of strange, and I got this sense that it was like a Southern fraternal experience that I wasn't like really familiar with. So it was a slow process to kind of attune my ear to that kind of thing, and then probably clothes. And I really didn't know people wore New Balance so much, and khakis and like white socks, and that was pretty much it's just the small things. And I guess what you take from it is that there's small things that you don't necessarily appreciate all the time. There's like beauty, not necessarily beauty, that's kind of a dramatic term, but there's, I don't know, like once you embrace that as a part of your experience and you come to appreciate it, then I guess you can appreciate more forms of like people. There's more beauty to life in general than what is your own.
What I hope for Woodberry in the future is for us to raise a sufficient amount of capital in our endowment so that in addition to having a needs-blind acceptance policy, we are able to meet 100% of the financial needs of every boy who's accepted at Woodberry. I want to get this school to a stage where the ability to pay does not impact whether or not you get to come to Woodberry Forest. We want the best boys to make us better, and that's my hope for Woodberry.
I don't pretend to have all the answers, but I feel like diversity should be a goal, but it shouldn't be diversity for the sake of being diverse. I don't think it would be in the school's best interest to have a diverse community of people who aren't buying into the values of the community, because that detracts from the culture, and sort of the brotherhood that we have. But I don't know. I feel like they should look for students from diverse backgrounds who are genuinely interested in buying into the culture. So I guess that might be on the side of the admissions department, just searching for those people like myself who wanted to come here, who are interested in something different.
The tune that you now hear is that of the Woodberry song, Fight for the Orange and Black, written by Johnny Mercer, a Woodberry alumnus who is now a Hollywood celebrity.